Yeah, good day, Pastor Carl Bromley here in the Deep South, and just making a video cautioning people not to confuse the Battle of Gog and Magog with the Battle of Armageddon. These are both end-time events, but there's a lot of talk going around at the moment about Ezekiel 38 in reference to the conflict between Iran and Israel, and people are deferring to Ezekiel 38 about Gog coming against Israel as a reference to the current conflict of Israel and Iran. Don't make the mistake of confusing the Battle of Gog and Magog with Armageddon. These two end-time events are separate events. Armageddon is the coming together of the Antichrist and nations of the world against Israel just prior to the return of Jesus Christ. And that's the consummation that follows the great period of tribulation of Antichrist, where nations of the world will come against Israel, and God is going to draw them together to the Battle of Armageddon when Christ returns, and he will basically defeat the kingdoms of this earth, and he will reign as Lord of Lords and King of Kings over the earth as the Messiah. Following that is a 1,000-year period called the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. The millennial reign, he will reign for 1,000 years. Satan will be bound for 1,000 years, and at the end of that 1,000-year period, Satan is going to be released, and at that point, he is going to gather together the armies of Gog and Magog and come against Israel, which is dwelling safely without any walls, as Ezekiel talks about, which is not the current state of Israel at all. The current state of Israel is not dwelling safely. It has walls around it, which were transgressed by Hamas recently, and so it's a different context altogether. But when it comes to the Battle of Gog and Magog, which I believe Ezekiel 38 is talking about, will be a time at the end of the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, where Israel will be dwelling in peace. Satan is released for after that 1,000-year period, amasses a great army throughout the world to come against Israel for one last final onslaught. And the scriptures tell us in Revelation chapter 20, if you want to study Revelation chapter 20, you'll see that God devours those armies with the breath of his mouth. Poof, it's all over. And then we enter into the eternal state. So just be careful, be cautious to not confuse the Battle of Armageddon that precedes the return of Jesus Christ. Don't confuse that with the Battle of Gog and Magog that comes after the 1,000-year reign of Messiah on the earth after Armageddon. So what we're seeing right now, I don't believe is Ezekiel 38 at all. Now, maybe some references that people might think seem that way, but no, the Battle of Gog and Magog is very different. As I said before, I'll reiterate it. If you carefully study Ezekiel 38, compare that to Revelation chapter 20, that Battle of Gog and Magog is going to come at a time where Israel is dwelling in safety, peacefully, without the need of any walled villages. That will be the time of the millennial reign of Christ, where they will be dwelling safely. That context is not what we see today. They haven't been dwelling safely since their inception, and since God returned Israel to the land in 1948, May 1948. So there you go. Have a look for yourself, Ezekiel 38, compare it to Revelation chapter 20. But what's happening in the Middle East right now, in my opinion, that probably isn't worth much to anyone, but nonetheless I'll say it to you anyway to encourage your study, is not the formation or the Battle of Gog and Magog. It's just an end-time event that's going to lead up to Armageddon. Now, what I think is happening in the Middle East, for my 2 cents worth, is that we will see the displacement of the Iran regime that will allow a more peaceful regime to take place, that will be a stepping stone towards the prophetic event of a peace covenant being signed between Israel and the surrounding Arab nations. Donald Trump tried to get that done under the Abrahamic Accord, and there were several Arab nations, I think maybe a couple, who weren't willing to sign. And one of those nations undoubtedly was Iran. But now they're talking about having an accord called the Cyrus Accord between Iran and Israel. If that ungodly demonic regime that currently tyrannically reigns over Iran is displaced with a new peaceful regime, then we could see the Cyrus Accord, peace between Israel and Iran, taking place, and the possibility of that which Donald Trump tried to achieve in the Abraham Accord finally being achieved, probably by someone else, because Donald Trump does not meet the criteria of Antichrist. That's very clear. If you know what you're talking about in terms of the characteristics of Antichrist, he does not represent that. But someone following Trump could come in on his shirt tails and be successful in bringing about the necessary covenant between Israel and the Arab nations, which would be something that Antichrist himself will achieve, the man of peace, which comes before the tribulation, the great tribulation of Antichrist, and before the return of Jesus Christ at the battle of Armageddon, that will then lead into the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ, that will then lead into the final battle, the final conflict of the battle of Gog and Magog. Okay, and after that, praise God, the eternal state, the new heaven and new earth that God is going to create. All right, so agree, disagree, that's fine, but I'm going to put it out there because, in my view, Ezekiel 38 is not what's happening right now. We're not looking at the battle of Gog and Magog. We haven't even got to the covenant of peace yet between Israel and the Arab nations. We haven't got to Armageddon yet, nor the millennial reign, and then the battle of Gog and Magog. All right, just my thoughts for any interested. God bless. Mate wa. Bye for now. See ya.